The time we had a school lock-in by the username of TheHottestGarbageIII. I remember that it was about 5 years ago when this happened. We were having a school lock-in. That's where all the students come to the school and stay the night there in a bigger area, such as the gymnasium or the library. I asked my mum if I could go multiple times and she kept saying no. She finally agreed though after multiple accounts of begging. I got excited and decided to pack up all my stuff 3 days before I went to the lock-in. Even though she said yes, my mum kept trying to talk me out of it. I told her that I was going to have fun and that I'd be fine and she had nothing to worry about. I was around 10 at the time, so this was a pretty big step for me, because I never really went over to any friends' houses, because, well, I didn't have any friends. I arrived at the school very eager for the night ahead of me. We would play a bunch of games and finally we got to the part where you would play hide and seek. I thought I was extremely lucky to be the seeker, but then I remembered how big the school was. It would be nearly impossible to find anyone. I waited 5 minutes and then it was time to go and find everybody. I looked for nearly an hour but I couldn't find anybody at all. I started to get worried and started trying to yell for people, but nobody answered. I started running down a hall, and whenever I noticed something at the end of it, something small, about the size of a garden gnome, I thought it might have just been a stuffed animal, but then it started growling. It got to the size for it seemed that it could barely stand in the hallway, and it was hunched over. It let out an ear-piercing screech, and I was sure that my eardrums were going to explode. Then I felt the liquid on the side of my face. It was blood. My eardrums had ruptured, and blood was dripping down the side of my face. It grew to its maximum height, and it seemed to be over 10 feet tall. I dived out from underneath the bleachers whenever it was across the gymnasium and ran down the hall to the nearest fire alarm switch. I pulled it and the sirens started going off from the fire alarm. I could hear the thing screech in the gymnasium across the school. It seemed to be stunned by high-pitched noises. The fire department arrived around 15 minutes later and they found me hiding in a classroom. They asked what I was doing at school and there was no one there except for me and the fireman. None of the teachers or students were there, nor was the creature. I had a schizophrenia attack and I thought there was a creature there, and the lock-in had been cancelled. My mum had not been notified that the lock-in was cancelled, and she took me there anyway. She dropped me off at the parking lot and told me to run in. There were cars there, so I understood why she told me to go in. They were the school fans used on school trips. That was 5 years ago. But I will always remember the screeching sound I heard during my schizophrenia attack. I should have gone to sleep by username throwaway4213. There are few rules every human has to adhere to. Most of our conventions, even laws, can be evaded if you have the money and influence, or if you're just really smart. People can get away with murder, theft and arson. All kinds of hideous and horrifying crimes. Rape, child abuse and terrorism. They are all everyday occurrences. They are man-made horrors. But there are rules beyond our conscious understanding that we cannot break. I mean, we can, with terrifying consequences. Few survive these transgressions, and those who do are never the same. We're not supposed to be awake around 5 a.m. We all know that. Our parents taught us the importance of a bedtime and a regular sleep schedule. What most of us don't know is that the reason they taught us is that there is an unspoken agreement, as old as time, that protects us. They may not get us while we sleep. No one knows why they agreed to this. They were here before humankind. They have the power to end us in a single night, but they grant us this little bit of false security. Maybe it makes it more interesting. Maybe they just enjoy the hunt more this way. Some of us go years, even their entire lives, without encountering one. It's rare, but it happens. I don't know if you can protect yourself. I only know that when I lay down in bed, I can feel something watching me, that there is something in my closet at night, and I can hear the distant pounding on my door. I know that I'm not actually any safer tucked away under my blanket, my eyes squeezed tight, holding the stuffed animal my mum gave me. The sense of security is worth it, however. If I didn't believe that my bed somehow protected me, I would never fall asleep. We live in an old house. They prefer old houses. Places where there has been suffering, blood has been spilt, and with dark, bad energy. When my parents bought the house, they seemed uneasy about the sense of dread it gave off, but the prize was too good to turn down, even if it may end up costing our lives. My dad and stepmom go to sleep at midnight, every night. So do my siblings. I, for one, am a notorious night owl. I know better than to stay up, but while gaming, the time runs through my fingers, and before I know it, it's 3 a.m., and I can feel the lingering presence of something in my room. I've made it a habit to brush my teeth and put on my pyjamas before I sit down to play my games. So, I just turn off my computer and dart into the safety once I look at the clock. Have you ever stayed up too long doing an assignment, or playing or reading something? Did you feel watched, or have you gotten the strange sensation there is something in the closet or cabinet, and that you shouldn't open it in the dark? Then you've encountered them, and once you do, there's no getting rid of them. It's only a matter of time until you let your guard down, and they get you. It's happening to me now. I stayed up too late playing some silly game. I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter anymore. It's 4:30 by the time I noticed. I know it's probably too late, but I sprint into my bed regardless. Tonight, the presence is much stronger than usual. It's right next to my bed. I can't see it because my room is pitch black, but I can feel it. Instinctively, I stifle a sob, knowing that all my family will find tomorrow is a mangled corpse, the face torn and frozen in an internal silent scream. I desperately try to fall asleep, because then I'd be safe. But seconds tick by, and sleep doesn't come. Just before the sun finally comes up and releases me, I can feel its cold claws ripping apart my skin. I scream, I kick, I fight as hard as I can, but there's no hope for me now. It crawled out my closet, and I didn't protect myself. With my final breath, through the curtain of despair, all I can think is, I should have gone to sleep.